Welcome to another episode of Diotalk. I'm Dio. Let's talk. My guests of the evenings are talented singers. They're known from A&M, real life superheroes. Welcome to the show. How are you guys?
Hi there. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
It's an
Yeah, it's
honor
so
having you
exciting to be
guys.
talking about this. I'm so happy to be here.
I just finished listening to you guys' amazing song "Holy," which is amazing. It's beautiful. It's breathtaking. I can't recommend it enough. So yeah, what are you guys up to? How did you create this duo?
Oh, wow. So that's kind of a fun story. Well, the music part of our relationship is something that kind of came after we met each other first under different circumstances. Um, and and at the time I was playing like bar gigs and just sort of making music that way. But we got to having these really big, deep discussions about like life and the world and what's going on in the world. And during that time, Audrey sort of rekindled her journey with music. I'll let you talk about that. But it just so happened that during that time, then we all of these things kind of came together, and so we start singing together, and then we start playing together, and then we start writing together, and so on and so forth. And here we are. So if you had some thoughts on that
Yeah,
process.
well, ultimately, us as a duo came about when we had a really incredible experience. So I guess you can say my profession is a midwife, and we had done a mission trip in Haiti. And afterwards, that trip was so impactful, and that started us on this path as, humanitarians, a band, and transformational speakers. And we realized that, if each and every human being were able to understand that we can be tremendously impactful, we are the heroes that we are waiting for truly. And so we decided to go ahead and live our own hashtag superhero life, where we've now incorporated, what we do on a day-to-day basis, which is, the music and helping out other individuals and social causes that help to transform tomorrow into a beautiful place for everyone. And the music is a part of how we do that.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
couldn't have
amazing.
said it better myself.
Well, the music you guys are doing is always beautiful. It's meaningful, it's touching. Like people can easily gravitate. That's like I remember the first time we started email, I listened to Den and I listened to it now before we started, and it just gave me chills. I sent it to my wife. She told me this is beautiful. That's the
Oh,
best description
yay.
I can give to you guys, that song, right? So like what made you, right? What does the beginning look like for you guys? Like how did before the missionary, did you guys were friends? Did you have a solo career and then united for a cause? Like how long you guys been together?
So at this point, 6 years.
Wow,
And
amazing.
yeah, when we started dating, I was at the time, and just occupying or operating on, um, I guess you can say, an identity of, oh my gosh, I'm just a mother, I'm just a midwife. What else can I do? Like
Yeah.
life has all these ups and downs. And I personally was going through, a divorce. And it was just like all this, like, the world is
Yeah.
so, oh my gosh, like, what do you do? And really through the process of just, being able to identify, my own strengths and superpowers and be able to bring that to bear and then have that make great impacts, realizing that, ultimately that's the mission that we both had in our hearts and that we were kind of doing separately
Mhm.
Yeah.
before we met each other. So through conversations and the kind of conversations where you're not arguing, but you're kind of like speaking passionately.
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, we were able to kind of just get down to the core and discover that, each and every one of us are incredibly powerful. And in writing this song, MYLS mostly wrote it. I think I have like a little bit of credit here and there for some different word choices, right? But the what we wanted to impart in it was that no matter who you are, what background you come from, or walk of life, or any of those things, each and every one of us are holy, right? And
Yes.
so sometimes I say stuff like Christianity doesn't have the monopoly on spirituality, meaning, so many of us, especially if you aren't directly an observer of some type of religion, then
Yeah.
there's this otherness.
Mm.
And so part of what I realize is that, like, all of us have safety when the least of us have safety. All of
Yes.
us have power when the least of us have power and sovereignty.
Yes.
And so it's part of the mission. My personal mission is, the quality of every life matters. And so when I kind of marry all those things together and we, carry the message in our music, which is how we elevate people first, then we're able to, bring up the frequency so we can all be educated to understand and receive the information of what needs to be taken action on so we can transform things for the better, and that's
Wow.
just one of the tiny fundamental ways that, each and every one of us can, act in impactful ways that has ripple effects and literally changes the future for us all.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Well, it's some pretty heady stuff. So as a
Yeah.
songwriter, like first I should say that Audrey has been dipping her toe into the songwriter pool recently. It was more musicianship early on. We were doing covers. If you look at our first couple of singles that we released, they were cover songs just because we were kind of getting warmed up with
Yeah.
things and we wanted to try not to cut our teeth on something that also had a writing element. It was like, no, let's just cover a song and do a fun thing that we like with it. So, we got in with that, and recently Audrey's been, like I said, getting into songwriting, and it's really good stuff, and ties into all this. For me, I've got a little more experience and practice with that. I've been writing songs since I was like 14, and I'm 40 now, so that's like a lot of years. I
It's
don't
been a
want to keep
journey.
track. It's a big long journey. So, for me, I have a lot of practice at this idea of like, or at this process of distilling big, heady, conceptual life things, distilling them down to, a few lyrics that kind of catch or make sense or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
or a musical movement that like, resonates with that. And so for this song, I believe we were finally putting the finishing touches on it in 2022. So we'd already gone through the 2020 business and all the pandemic stuff. And now it was actually in the very beginning in February of 2020 that we did that mission trip to Haiti. So we get right back from Haiti and
Wow.
then the whole world,
Shuts down.
so yeah. And so we, during that time, sitting here watching the world, and I had been talking about some of the stuff in my music since way back in like '07. But in those big, heated, passionate conversations that Audrey and I were having, part of what the challenge was that we were seeing that like, and India.ee has a great song called One, where she sort of describes this idea that, you know, no matter what you call it, this thing that we're all talking about
Mm.
when we talk about religious, from a religious space, if you talk about God or you talk about spirituality, um, when you get right down to it, the part that sort of everyone seems to keep talking about and bringing up, the people who, it all comes down to love, basically, right? That's the
Yes.
idea, is that, if we all love one another, we care for each other, we love ourselves, we take care of ourselves, and we build a life that's built around that, then good things tend to happen, right? So I wanted to write a song that played with the word holy. Uh, oh, and I guess there's one more element, is that during my journey, over the course of my journey, I stepped away from theology and religion, and was a sort of an outspoken atheist for a long time, and I've settled into something a little more nuanced since then. And I wanted to reflect that in the song, such that it was something that ideally you could come to from any background, whether you're a Christian, you're atheist, you're Muslim, you're something, whatever. If you big fan of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, this song
Yeah.
should still be able to resonate for you. It was the idea anyway, and so the intention is that the song affirms every part of like our fifth dimensional selves. We talk about like holy as a concept, and then it's like affirms yourself, so that I'm holy. So if you sing along to the song, you end up singing about the concept, you sing to yourself, you sing to whoever is listening, and you sing about the we collective. And then it closes on a sort of a thought of like, this is what holy can be when we tap into it and we really, participate in that oneness that India Ree was talking about in her song. So it was more like a songwriting exercise, but it was also something I wanted to get off my chest. This idea that like, no, I think we can all be singing the same song together, even though all these differences on the surface sort of seem to be like difficult to get around. Like we can go above or
I
beneath that.
mean the idea behind it, it's very complex, right? You said a lot,
Mhm.
but like the execution, this is where like I don't know how to word it, like because your music sounds very gospely, but yet
Mhm. Mhm.
and I like I said, the complexion, you're not trying to reach one, but you're trying to reach everyone. That speaks
Mhm.
volumes. It was well put, written, well sung. So like it was amazing. Your complexity. It was I don't know how to describe it, right? Because you
Yeah.
there was
This
Well,
so much
translates.
behind it,
we
right? There was so much
yeah.
like behind your
Yes,
thought
yes.
process to create a work or art that was so simple. And that's the most important part.
Yeah,
Yes.
Wow.
I think you're right. That it does. That speaks to like the big challenge. Like it's easy to talk about this complex stuff, but can
Yeah.
you distill it down to something that's clear and concise?
And at the end of the day, the one thing that is always true is that each and every one of us are human before we are any other terminology or ideology or program or any of those things. And, especially in the line of work that I get to serve in,
Mhm.
I don't see one baby as more worthy than another because of their background or what their parents believe in or any of those things.
Yes.
And so, with all this like division and polarity in the world we live in, it's the one thing that I think sometimes we forget is that we are truly one
Yes.
human people. That's what humanity means, right?
Yes. Yes.
Many humans. And I think when you get down to the singularity of what that is, and that each and every human being needs something, like particular parameters in order to live and thrive and survive.
Mhm.
I don't need a particular government view to know that. I don't need a particular religious view to know that. And, centered around that, that is something that each and every one of us can absolutely stand in solidarity with. And that's where, we center all of it. And MYLS recently coined this one term. And so we were playing around with it. I was like, we're going to take him to church, like we need something that's
Yes.
a different kind of like cohesive, like people feel this atmosphere of like connection and love, but it's not because we've agreed that there's a particular person or
Mhm.
entity or one thing, right? And so, MYLS came up with an idea of like, kind of sort of like a cosmic church. And I was like, yeah, yeah, where everything fits in, because whatever God or belief, ultimately one may have, it is still part of the big ultimate thing,
Mhm.
that includes each and every one of us, but is so much bigger than us.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so to be able to, with our, words that we as a people have agreed this is what these mean, to be able to then, I guess you can say, alchemize that into a greater meaning that includes all. That's part of what's so transformative. And that's what
Yeah.
we're here to do, because the world that we live in, as we live in it, is, there's a lot that we can grow and expand on and make it better. And
Yes.
that's what I see, is the potentiality that each and every one of us can literally transform, ourselves, and thereby transform the world around us. And if each person can do that in some kind of tiny way, shape, or form, either if not just for themselves, but also for the other in their family, that's it.
The ripple effect is incredible.
So
Right.
the idea of like, oh, it's such a big problem, how are we going to fix it? Well, it's really that much more simple, especially if you bring it all to the center of one divine thing, which is the holiness within each and every one of us. So then we realize that our thoughts, our actions, and all of that, even when we mess up and even when we do great, like all of those still are part of the experience of life, which is beautiful and holy.
Yes.
Okay, that was good. You did good. I couldn't have said it better myself.
So yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, so before we move on, there was one final thing I wanted to talk about with respect to the song, which was the harmony parts. Okay, so this is my big favorite part of a lot of this stuff, is that on our journey together, Audrey and I have taken several of my older songs and we've done our new versions of them. Sometimes it happens, you get a new band or whatever, you go back and you cover your old stuff. And early on, we started like being like, oh, this harmony thing is like fun, and so now that we've gotten this far into it, to like this particular recording was a lot of fun for me because it was the first time we got to really stretch our legs a little bit with the harmony parts and stuff like that. And so I just was like, oh man, there's a lot more fun stuff we get to do like moving forward, but you got to take things one project at a time. But yeah, so like that's like the big, and I think it plays in thematically just because singing in harmony together is not all that different from working in harmony together, and so on and so forth. So it's all on point.
No, I
All
hear
right, that's
that.
it. That's
I agree. So like you're driven by faith. I can imagine you're a Christian, right? And you're still an atheist or a believer, or you're
well,
still
I was
working
actually I was
toward.
so I was born into the Mormon church, so I did have like a
Okay.
Christian upbringing. But nowadays I feel like I go mostly with the Ziggy Marley interpretation. Love is my religion.
Mm. I love it because it's
Yeah, so
you guys have a perfect balance. Like it's life in itself, right? You have your believers, you have your somewhat, but yet that creates balance. You guys need one another to create a perfect art, which you did in the song Holy. So, don't discourage yourself if you're not. One day you'll see that, maybe not religion, but there is a higher power that will contribute to you seeing a better light. And, everyone needs their time, but no rush. You guys, are yin and yang to one another. And that's what I'm getting the vibe, and I love that about you guys. Being that said, so are you guys
thanks,
like,
man.
do you guys are working on an album? Do you have more music out? What's going on? What's next? Or what are you working on?
So there is an EP that we have been talking about and started, putting down foundations for, because we really wanted to add something different to music. And what I mean by that is music that is not necessarily about, vibing with the right here, right now.
Yeah.
So there's this verse that, sometimes people talk about in the Christian world, we are in the world, but not be ye not of the world, right? So sometimes in order to like change the reality that we all seem to be collectively experiencing, one needs to literally be in a different, energetic space. And
Mm-hmm.
so this EP we are working on is going to be called Hymns of the New World.
Nice.
because truly creating the new world, a new collective reality on Earth, means that there is going to be a lot of things that are in operation today that can no longer be that way in the new world, if it is to be a world where everyone has a beautiful tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And so um, that has a lot of like, there's one song in particular, that just resonates so hard for me. And I'm really excited to have the world be able to hear it and receive it. And yeah, so I'm hoping, probably by early next year, to probably have it be done. We want to have it be our gift for any of our audience or just new people that come around our platform. So be on the lookout.
Yes.
It will likely be a free gift that's going to be on our Linktree. You just pop in your email and then you'll get the whole album. But yeah.
And Hymns of the New World finishes with Holy. That's the final song on the EP. So the idea was that that's sort of the song that we land on, that we come to. We have a whole lot more other stuff that we do,
That's
even
crazy
outside of the
because
music stuff.
that's crazy because like holy when I heard it's like it sounds the beginning of something to be the last song on the
Yeah.
track, So that's crazy.
It is. Oh, and I love it. No, you actually get it. I love it. You already get the idea right away. What's fun is that the idea of Hymns of the New World is it talks a little bit. The album starts with where we are and ends with a vision of the new world. So like the first song of the new world is the last song of the old one, kind of idea. And
Got
Holy
it.
is sort of the
Got
hinge
it.
point on that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we end
Nice.
on a to be continued kind of vibe. Yeah.
So pretty much spreading around the frequency and the idea that we are the change. And I remember, the first time I heard that, be the change you want to see in the world. It's like, okay, well, what exactly does that mean? Like,
What does that
how do
look
you
like?
even like
Right?
like how and so that's part of what we get to do. I know the times that I have seen or even heard of certain people doing things, I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. And that's why representation is so powerful, is because it now brings into the concept of understanding and knowing that something else is possible. And if we are, talking about it and resonating on it and creating, actions and steps towards it, then it's no longer something that we just say, oh, well, I wish things were different.
Oh,
I used to be that person where I'm just like, oh my gosh, like it seems so helpless. Like
Yeah.
I'm just this one person and there's just no way that who am I to do anything or affect any change? And that seems to be something that a lot of people can identify with, which is part of why we additionally have gone into speaking, and we have a couple of workshops where we help people discover and unlock the superpower within.
Mm.
Because it is going to take all of us. And so as real life superheroes, that's part of our mission, is to, get as many superheroes as we can get living that hashtag superhero life. And what that means is in every single part of your life, how you're living your life, it is in alignment towards a better world, so how you take care of yourself, how you like show up in the world, all those things.
Yeah, and like so the music is sort of it's part of a sort of a three-step process that we kind of have that we do with all of our work, which is we say elevate, educate, empower. And some of
Mm.
that's built on neurochemistry because we've learned that it's a lot easier to digest new information and to adapt and evolve and grow when your vibe is elevated. Sorry, excuse me, we got our dogs coming in here saying hi for the last 5-10 minutes.
No worries. No worries.
Um, but yeah, so like once people are elevated, then they're open to evolving, growing, whatever. And then once they have been able to do that, now they're empowered to get out in their world and make an impact with that. And so for some people, it looks like a really big thing, like there's a new invention that cures cancer or something or whatever. And for some people, it's just being a friendly neighborhood community member, and they just sort of do whatever they have a simple, quiet life. And so the world that they serve, the universe that they're a hero over, they might be like a local hero who just changes people's lives by being a friendly, stable, consistent human being that little kids get to, like, oh, they're the crossing guard or something that's been there for
Yeah.
20 years, right? And so their superhero life may be that simple, and for other people, it's this wild, crazy adventure thing. So I think when it's like that, you can break it down. It's like, oh, so we all don't have to take on the whole world's problems, but from wherever you are, if you're being guided with this sort of this consciousness of being, of elevating, educating, empowering yourself and others around you, and if that's where you're coming from, then oh boy, they're getting very restless for dinner. Boy, we really I messed that up. Time that right. But yeah, so then once you're in that position, then you can kind of look around you, and whatever your scope is, then you start changing the way you do you in that space, and that changes the world for the rest of us. So we get enough people singing the same song, vibing the same way, doing what they do where they are, but better, healthier, and then the transformation is insane. It's so powerful. It's like, oh, cool. Well, that's how we're going to get to the new world.
Yeah.
Nice.
And part of a functional piece of what, we created is we empower NPOs, organizations that are out there on the front lines that are helping to improve the community, either working on housing insecurity or food, issues, or, family wellness. And lots of times when they're out there doing what they're doing, one of the things that they have a hard time with is making sure they have then the funding to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so, part of then we're like, okay, so we need all the heroes we can get, but then there's also people who are already heroes doing what they're doing. Like, if anything, we need them to keep, being able to transform the community that way, but just empower them. And so this whole thing started off with, being put in a position to actually help. And I realized the biggest transformative thing that happened was just asking them, what do you need? How can I serve you or help you? Because truly all of us are powerful, and sometimes that's what we need is. And so we've recoined what it means to be a hero, which is helping everyone regardless of origin. Being a hero is not just a me thing or an I thing like we see in the movies. Being a hero is being collected together in grounded in the foundation of love, which is then why we created Love Corps. And so we create live events. And one of the aspects that we do in our Helping You Helps We program is that it's a community collaborative fundraising engine. So we put on music festivals or art things or conferences or, live events with partnerships with other organizations and businesses. And a portion of those funds then goes to helping a social justice cause in the community, or, helping another local real life superhero who's doing transformative work in the community. So not only are we, utilizing our superpowers to, create the gifts that we create, but now we use those gifts to also serve to further help each and every one of us be able to be the heroes we've been waiting for. So it could be as simple as showing up to an event, buying a ticket, and a portion of those proceeds goes to helping an amazing cause, all the way to participating and volunteering and being, actionable in your community. And so, it's a great platform for us to come together and be the heroes we've been waiting for. Because that's how things are going to change if the world's going to change. Yeah.
Yeah. How long have you guys been doing these workshops?
So I would probably say for about a year. They're kind of new. We've done a few of them. And over the summer we got to do one for summer camp. And so it's new or different in that the way we do it is we incorporate music because, again, we elevate, educate,
Yes.
and empower. And so part of that aspect is I call it a presente show. You know, sometimes when you go out to listen to music, oh, I'm going to go catch the show, right? And then when you think about, you know, receiving information or whatnot, it's
TED
like,
Talk.
oh, TED Talk. So then I was
Yeah.
like,
Mm.
I love information and science and technology and all of that, but really sometimes it's so sterile. And so we like to say we bring the heart. And part of that heart is, you know, the music. And so in the presentation, it goes from, you know, musical performance into TED Talk and talking about statistics and neuroscience and different actionable ways that we can identify different things within ourselves and be able to make transformations, and then going back into some music and then back into teaching. So it's unique. I don't know that I've ever seen somebody like, you know,
No, it's
performing music
definitely
while doing a TED
it,
Talk.
it, it's definitely different. I mean, it's not bad different because you're able to entertain and grasp the attention of the viewers, which is very important. And not
Yeah.
make it so dull. I
Yes.
guess that the main problem sometimes as with schooling is that they make it so boring at times that you can't learn nothing.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're able to grasp that concept, right, and put it in a place where it's uplifting, it's positive.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
catchy because like the song Holy is catchy. You cannot, not sing it, right? You want it to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you get their attention and they can willingly accept information you're trying to teach them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we like to use the music with storytelling because I think
Yes.
when you can see yourself in the story, then it hits a level of knowing from an experiential place, not necessarily from like a conceptual place.
Hmm. Hmm.
And sometimes getting the heart before your brain caught up and realized what had happened, you already felt what you felt,
Hmm.
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know.
Like it changed you already before you realized
Yeah,
the
yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I love movies for the same reason, but that's a whole other discussion. Um, yeah, so I think one other kind of big thing that we've been doing recently, and this is pretty new, this is even within the last couple of months, is that there's been this one component as we've been assembling all these different pieces. There's education bits, there's entertainment bits, there's all this other logistical stuff. And I've built a lot of things before, but I've never like built community before. And so one of the things that we're doing is like a lot of times you'll have an experience, you'll go to a show or a movie or even a seminar or a conference or something. And it's like, oh, cool, you get all hyped up and we're going to take some action or I'm going to change this or whatever. And then you get out into the real world and it's like, okay, what was I doing again? They had a whole saying and I don't,
Yeah.
and so I was like, okay, I've felt that 1,000 times. I can only imagine that like somebody else might have that same experience. So part of one of what I've been working on lately is on our website, we've got it broken up, elevate, educate, empower. There's like different pages with different kinds of content per that. And the empower page has on it this sort of list of goals that I found on the UN website, the United Nations website, and these are sort of like global challenges that they'd like to see
Hmm.
addressed. And so there's like 17 big categories or something, and they involve homelessness and food security and all this other stuff. And so I'm like, oh, cool. Well, this is going to be our sort of like guidelines. These are our targets that we're going to shoot for, right? And then and I've been building out a sort of a network portal. So individuals, businesses, and organizations, either on a local, regional, or even a global level, can hop on the website, see what we're doing, and be like, oh, cool, we'd like to be a part of that. I'd like to be a part of making an event happen as a sponsor, a vendor, or as an NPO who's doing, oh, we'd love for you guys to come raise some money or awareness for us or bring us some volunteers. Or if it's
Hmm.
individuals out in the community, be like, oh, I love the music, or I love what you guys are talking about. This is great. I'd love to get involved somehow. Where do I start? I was like, oh, we're going to need a place for people to do that. So on the Empower page, now we got like a whole tool for that, which we didn't have until very recently.
Mhm.
So that's
So, you know, it's coined after like Peace Corps or the Marine Corps or the Love Corps.
Right.
Yeah.
And ultimately, each and every one of us has a unique gift. And that unique gift can be a specific superpower that allows us to be the heroes we've been waiting for in one way or another. That it's just so fun to see people light up and be like, me?
Oh
What's
yeah.
my superpower? Huh. It's I just realized that so much about how we've been brought up or programmed is to kind of relinquish the creative aspect that is us,
To diminish
as
our
if
power.
like that is childish. And it's like, no, that is to be human. We are divine creatures that, are incredible at creating, even when we don't think we're creating, which is part of the part that we get to reignite is the connection to self again. And
Yeah.
two, like, are you being who you came here to be? Think about that.
Right. Yeah.
If you have a unique perspective and you're the only you that will ever exist in the timeline of existence ever, then what's that part of you that maybe you're not sharing or being
Mm.
with the rest of us? And so I think of it, humanity and even like how we exist on the planet is one body,
Mm.
and each and every one of us are like a cell in the body. If my toe got hurt, my whole being is going to feel that. Sure, I could walk and do some other things and whatnot, but, you know, every cell in my body lives to serve me, the totality of me. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? And
Yes,
when we
yes.
have a cell that's like, no, I'm going to do for me, I'm going to make sure I got mines. That's called
Yeah,
cancer.
Right.
yeah.
And so, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's part of my unique perspective that my life experience in genetics and all of that has allowed me to be able to process and understand in the world. And so that's what I also get to bring in. And so that's part of how I see how I can create transformation into something that's more balanced in our world, which is, every cell already kind of knows its job. It just needs to be empowered in its own sovereignty to do that.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then you have a fully functioning, well operating being.
I love it. I love it. It's like, you know, it's almost the same concept when once I had my son, I realized that it's not all about you anymore, you know? There's a bigger
Mhm.
picture. Um, when it comes to you guys, like what is like in order for you to serve others, you must serve yourself, meaning like for me,
Mhm.
like when I have conversation like my wife, right? I tell my wife, I love myself. I love myself. I have to love myself more than you because in
Mhm.
order for me to give you the love and respect and admiration you need, I must love myself in the sense that I will not put myself or make myself feel a certain type of thing or way so that I can only give you the better side of me, right?
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
is what is what is
Yeah.
what is like that for you? Like for you, for example, like is that your writing? Is that what helps you when it comes to your writing? Well, to your music to provide a better version of yourself?
Oh, it's been an incredible tool for reflection. I think for me, writing helps me take all these big experiences and these big concepts and stuff, and break it down. As much as it's great to share it with the rest of the world,
Hmm.
it's for me really helpful to just understand myself and the world better. And I think that that helps me to grow from those experiences. If I have an experience and then I go back and I write about it, I think it serves a similar purpose as like journaling does, where
Hmm.
you can go back and the going through the like laundering the experience through the creative process then lets me like distill down, oh, what's the lesson here, what part of this was me, what part of this wasn't me, and why. And so I can totally relate to what you're talking about, because when I stepped into fatherhood, it was like you get this total like perspective shift, right? It's almost disorienting.
Hmm.
um at first, right? Because it's just like, oh, how my life was just about me yesterday, and now it's what is even happening? There's like a whole person and their whole universe is now my universe, and it's a whole thing. So, um, I think that in the writing, though, I I have struggled and worked hard to make sure that uh, when I'm sharing it with the world, it's a reflective of my takeaway or the lesson. So the idea is, oh, this is my experience. I'm going to share it with somebody else, you know. And I think once I also put something out in the world and it's got my voice and my name and my words to it, then it's a little bit of a way to hold myself accountable to continue being that person. Like, oh, I learned the lesson. I can't backslide now. I wrote a song about it. So for me, that's how the process sort of affects the way that I show up in the world and evolve and grow as a person.
For me, mine actually was directly opposite.
Ooh.
So in our partnership, you know, lots of times we find, as you have noticed yourself, the yin and the yang, you know, we got this north face, south face kind of thing going. And so being, you know, a mom and also a midwife, a lot of what I saw modeled for me
Mhm.
was, you know, you sacrifice and give everything. Like you don't matter. As long as everyone that I serve has, that's then as if like that's your food, that's your comfort, that's your what you have to keep you going. And I realized that one, that is not sustainable. And
Mhm.
two, that actually is not love. You know, I was teaching you know, clients about like wellness and how to take care of themselves, but also then struggling with like, do I even know what wellness is? Like if
Right.
like if I'm practicing what I'm preaching, then why am I suffering? And that was because part of what was missing, and I had a very loud encounter with my inner child, who I'm so grateful to her. But she was like, what about me? What about me? You know, I was always brought up like to think of myself first is to be selfish, right? We think about serving everyone else first, and then should there be time or any other stuff, like then I'll take care of me. But what I found, literally, mentally, mind, body, and spirit, was being out of balance, living a life that I no longer was in love with or felt connected with or even knew what I was like doing or why I was even here doing what I was doing. And that's because, you know, we're practicing the opposite of love, and to do love well, especially unconditional love, you have to do it to yourself first, because then that's how you
Mhm.
know how to love others. And so I went on a sabbatical from practicing to kind of like recalibrate, because in the medical professional world, we tend to like, you know, oh, wow, you stayed up doing a 24-hour surgery. Oh, wow, you're a superstar. Oh, my goodness, you this and this and that. Like we idealize giving past being able to give, you know, we put up on a pedestal, you know, like pouring from our empty cup. And I
Mhm.
realized actually, if we do it the other way, as what you were talking about, if you love yourself so much and you focus on yourself, then you're able to show up with the best version and aspect of self. And
Yeah.
so, you know, then part of what I had to recreate for myself and part of the transformation that I then took on in my life was, you know, loving myself in such a way that I'm like, well, what do you need in order to have your life be the incredible, insatiable life that is part of your wildest dreams that also makes the world better? You know, especially since I had like left music, I was just like strictly focused in medicine and just things like that, realizing like, you you get to be who you are. Other people don't get to label what that looks like for you.
Yeah.
And so I, am going to be entering practice and seeing, clients and doing deliveries again, but I also do music, and I also am creating live events and working with businesses and organizations and making sure that they're fed too. And then designing a model that also makes sure that we're fed too,
Hmm.
because we're worth it, as opposed to, oh, it'll work out. We'll just be provided for. And so, when you think about, again, the cell in the body, the red blood cell is not selfish because it takes a big old inhale. It needs to do that,
Hmm.
but it's serving the body because it gives the oxygen back to me. So I
Yeah.
need to do that too. I
Yeah.
need to make sure I have everything I need. And, studies show literally one of the greatest impacts in a child's life is the quality of life that the mother lives and how happy she is. And so, I am now living a life that rewrites the program on what it looks like to be a mother or a medical professional or this and that,
Yeah.
which is this all serving, your cup is empty because, oh, good job. Oh my gosh, you haven't slept for 3 days, but look, you caught 4 babies and you haven't seen your own children. And, like, no, it doesn't have to be that. Like, that is actually part of the sickness that we are perpetuating day to day. And if each and every one of us can find wellness, then systems will change,
Mhm.
because,
Yeah.
the systems at play currently are against our wellness. So if you're a well despite, then that means then there are things that can no longer be like
You can't
attached
be,
or operating, your life a certain way.
you sort
Yeah.
of like getting ensnared from the machine, kind of.
And helping other people get ensnared too.
Mhm.
I love you guys. As I'm here looking at you, I'm admire you guys. You guys have you truly yin and yang. You have this connection, which is amazing. I love it. What you're trying to create, it's not simple, but it's obtainable. I think you
Mhm.
guys have a great vision, idea
Yeah.
of sense of what community needs, not what you want, but
Mhm.
what it needs, right?
Mhm.
And you have this amazing opportunity that is going to take quite some time to develop, because
Mhm.
essentially
Mhm.
you're not trying to change people, you're trying to inspire them. And in the world that we live
Yes.
in, we cannot turn ahead and ignore that it's difficult, that people are inspired by not pleasant things, right? But what
Mhm.
you have essentially is incredible, right? You
Thank you.
you need to stop being so perfectionist, because nothing in life is perfect, and the beauty is in the mess. And once you accept
Yeah.
that, the
Yeah.
your writing will come like a winter breeze. It'll just come. You are so calm and
Yeah.
beautiful and adequate. Try punching somebody in the face from time to time, and your inner power will outburst and become the person you always wanted to be.
Yeah.
In this
Yeah.
life, in this
Yeah.
life, and you want to be successful, you want to make it, you want your dreams to come true, it's not going to have it overnight. And the only way for you to accomplish that is by making a mess, because we're not born with knowledge, we gain it, right?
Correct.
We can't
Correct.
continue
Hmm.
perceiving something that like you were a kid, you about me. It's because you were living in a place and where it was all about perception. Screw that, no
Mm.
Hmm.
more. The only way you
Hmm.
will reach your full potential, and for this dream to become a vision, and from that vision to born into reality, which it can and will
Hmm.
be, is you gotta cut yourself some slack. Not everything is meant to be so tenacious, not
Yeah.
everything's so
Yeah.
Yeah.
calm. People, like, you're very calm. You're flowing. People need to see that passion. You can be so controlling. The mess, the beauty is in the mess. The beauty is in the mess.
Yes.
We
Yes.
live like, if
Yes.
you
Yeah.
mimic the world is always trying to be perfect. Why? Why?
Hmm.
If what makes you imperfect is exactly what makes you beautiful. It's that
Exactly.
thing that cannot be described or mimic, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's when you know it's real and beautiful.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's
kudos
been
to
the
you
experience.
guys. Yeah, kudos to you guys. Keep doing it. Keep grinding. And before we go, tell the people where they can find you at.
Oh yeah, so we've got our website, www.thelovecore.net. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we got a Patreon page. If you like what we're doing, we're building community over there. There's a free and a paid tier thing. So we got a
And
link tree. Okay.
core is spelled the French way, CORPS.
Oh,
Yes.
bon
That's
Dieu.
that's yeah,
Like
yeah.
like the Marine Corps. Yes.
You
Peace
know,
Corps.
like the
The
body
Love
of
Corps.
people, because
Yes.
Yeah.
play on words. We're all love, we're
Anyway,
all one.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
lovecore.net.
yeah. I love it. Any
And on
Instagram
Spotify,
stuff?
you find us as sorry, yeah, and Instagram as well. Instagram, Spotify, Facebook, and
It's
YouTube.
actually real life
We're
superheroes.
real life superheroes.
Mhm.
Yeah. The
Got it.
Love Core is like the platform. Real life superheroes is us doing all of our stuff where you'll find most of the content. So yeah, that's it. Is
All
there
right.
any other places to find us? And
Yeah,
then out and about.
no. Yeah. And I appreciate the time
Oh, thank you so much.
to get to share space and energy with you. And you're
Thank you.
absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. That's been part of my discovery, especially of the power that lies underneath is like, it's not about the perfection. And sometimes you do have to break the constructs and the molds that have been set. And so, we went as bold then to call ourselves this because we want to stand as representation for other people
Yes.
to then identify that they can be bold enough to
Yeah.
dare to dream big enough of something that is bigger and better for us all. And so we wear our homemade super
Oh
suits
yeah, it's the bed
because
sheet. It's
and
my
so
page is
like
a bed
I don't
sheet.
know if you see it, my
Oh,
little
that's
emblem,
awesome. That's
and then my
awesome.
bangle.
There you
And so he
go.
has his, and so that's just part of, this is our uniform. And so this is how we live our version of our hashtag superhero life. And we help people be able to vision their version of their hashtag superhero life, which is just living a life of service and transforming the world.
That's awesome.
There it is.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. Make sure you go follow them, support them, go listen to their amazing music, and make sure to like and subscribe our YouTube channel, Diotalk TV. Go follow me on Facebook, Diomar King DS. Go follow me on Instagram, Mr. Dreams Power 10. I'm out, guys. Have a good night.